You're up.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to welcome you to our Diversity in Data panel discussion for the professional woman. Today, I am joined by several of our amazing community members who are going to talk about their experiences, perspective, thoughts, and challenges that they have experienced during their journeys within the tech and data sector. So, the point of this panel is to explore the experiences and stories of women in the data industry, to look at the challenges, biases, and discrimination they may have faced throughout their careers, and to look at what we can do to move forward and how we deal with these experiences. So we want to make this session for you to respond to your questions, to answer the things you've been wondering, and to really relate to your interests. So please, we invite you to send us your questions, and we're going to share those with our panel members. So while you start sending your questions, I'm going to invite these women to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about who they are and how they got here. So I'd love to start with Denisha.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I am Denisha Malone. I am also known as the Power BI Queen. I'm a business intelligence developer and consultant. I am founder of Data Harmony, a BI consulting company for small businesses to modernize their data strategies. I'm also founder of Dream Team. It's a nonprofit matching college students and professionals for mentoring. I'm passionate about community service, especially when it comes to the business IT industry for minorities and women. I co-lead the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Paths virtual group with Tracy, who's here, and Andrea, who's not here. I co-lead the Power BI Women Virtual Group and also vice president of the Black Data Processing Associates of Memphis.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Denisha. Anna?
Hi, I'm Anna. It's gonna be hard to follow that, Denisha. My name is Anna Hoffman. I'm a data and applied scientist / program manager on the Azure SQL team. I do a lot of different things, wear a lot of different hats that I'm sure you can all relate to. I'm relatively new to the SQL space and this community. I started participating about 2 years ago, but I've been dabbling in Microsoft since I got out of university. I even went to the Microsoft Digi Girls back in 2010. So I've always had lots of advocates advocating for me. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm kind of honored to sit on a panel with such wonderful women.
Thank you so much, Anna. Mala?
Hi, everybody. My name is Mala. I work as a database engineer with an e-commerce company called Channel Advisor here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm one of the older people in this community. I started with PASS way back in 1999 when I was a DBA, and I was a DBA for many years until I took a change of role when I came here about 2 or 3 years ago. I was also among one of the older people who hosted SQL Saturdays, which is our free training event that started back then. And mine was, I think it was event number 23. I think we are well past 1,000 events now with PASS. So yeah, that's how I got here. And I've been involved with this community for a seriously long time. I really like what I do, and I love the SQL family community.
Thank you so much, Mala. Jess?
Hi, everybody. First of all, thanks for having me. My name is Jess Pomfret. My pronouns are she and her. I'm currently a database engineer. I'm working in the south of England. I am English originally, but I did spend 14 years in Ohio until this last January. So my accent is somewhere in between. I got started in the community with open source software, giving back with some DBA tools coding. And once I got involved in that and started to appreciate the community aspect, I started blogging some more and speaking at different events. I was lucky enough to be awarded the Cloud Data Center MVP last year, which I'm really proud of. So that's how I got started, where I am now.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And finally, Hope.
My name's Hope, and I've been, gosh, I'm getting up there in years in data that I don't even want to admit anymore. I've been a former data platform MVP. I've been a business intelligence consultant and a DBA consultant, and some of the folks in here have helped me and been a part of the community for a long time. And right now, I'm also with Microsoft. I'm a data and AI cloud solution architect for Microsoft now. So I'm part of the field, as they say.
Perfect. And Tracy.
I am Tracy Baggiano. I currently work for DocuSign. It's in Seattle, but I live in North Carolina. I started with SQL Server back in 1995 or so. That's a long time ago. I actually started playing with databases though in 7th grade to keep up with my sports card collection. So I got a really early start on data in general. So I keep data everywhere around me. I go by the name database superhero because, well, they assigned that to me because of all my volunteer work outside of the database community. And I'm the current database platform MVP. And I think that's enough about me. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, all of you, for being here and for introducing yourselves. That was great. So guess we'll just start by diving right in. And I guess to start, it would be good to consider some of the barriers to entry to the industry that you think that women in particular face. Of course, there's multiple aspects of everyone's identity that influence that and can create further challenges. But talking about yourself personally from your own experiences, what do you think are the barriers that women face to entering the industry? If there's anyone who wants to start, or else I'll call on someone specific. Maybe Anna, do you want to kick off the conversation?
Sure. So I am still young in my career, so I'm sure there are many barriers that I have yet to try to overcome. But just generally, if I look back, I think maybe even from the beginning, as someone who I say not that long ago, I graduated from university about 4 years ago. To me, seems like a long time, maybe not so much to all of the people on the call, but when I was graduating, it was not so common for like women to be kind of looking at these like heavily technical roles, more of looking at more of like either sales roles or consulting roles, but not necessarily like technical roles. So I definitely see that as kind of an initial, not necessarily barrier, but almost like it wasn't like a place that I necessarily thought that I would want to go.
Yeah.
Wasn't a place where a lot of my friends were going. So I would say that not really a barrier, but just kind of like, I don't know what you want to call it. And then just generally sometimes, whether it's culturally or not, I sometimes feel like it's difficult to have conversations, especially when, you know, you're the only woman in a room, you know, 90% of the time. And then on top of that, you're younger than everyone in the room by at least 15 years. So those are some barriers. And I think just like, you know, building my self-confidence and being prepared and feeling confident or because I've prepared have kind of helped me like feel strong enough that I can kind of speak up in these meetings where I'm the only female or the youngest person. But I think things that have also helped is just having like people who kind of have your back, or having people in those meetings who say, hey, Anna, like, what do you think? So I think I've had some great advocates that are male that have helped me not only in meetings like that, but also in my career, advocating for me to get promotions, to help me figure out how to go up. I think, you know, it's common for women not to ask for those sorts of things like promotions, and it's still something I'm trying to figure out how to do. But I think, you know, just talking about it with other people and being open about how you feel and what other people are doing can help a lot. So that's my take.
Definitely. And maybe Denisha, could you talk about, I've heard you talk about this before, but the experience of being the only woman in a room. Do you have anything else to add onto that?
Yeah, I think two things I've experienced a lot with being a woman and being like the only woman in the room is that men and women communicate differently. So being in a room with men, being the only woman in the room, which happens more so than I would like. I noticed that the men communicate, a lot of men in the professional roles, um, they're aggressive, and I think that's just a masculine testosterone thing. But they communicate more aggressively, and a lot of men just they're not in the same room as a woman when it comes to IT because women, it's not a lot of us here, so they're not used to the way a woman communicates in the professional world, in the IT industry. So they don't know how to approach or how to communicate to a woman or how to accept the way that a woman communicates. And so I've experienced, and also being young, like Anna mentioned, I'm still in my 20s, so I'm learning the language of corporate America. I'm a really sweet girl, and it's just, being sweet, you can't always be sweet. So, and it's okay to be sweet, but you can't always be sweet. You have to match the aggression, especially when you're talking, handling serious conversations. So just styles of communication, and also just the way that the perception of a role of a woman, so the responsibilities of women and how men perceive that. I've noticed that there are different ways that a man perceives that the responsibility of a woman should be. So, and there's different. Sometimes, some ethnic groups or some groups perceive women to be more so have lesser roles, less important roles, or to be the ones to probably be at home more so. Different perceptions. And some groups, I've come across some people, they perceive women to be more aggressive. They perceive us to be more of the leaders and more of the decision makers. So, and if you're in a room with a lot of people and they all have different perceptions of you as a woman, and you're just yourself, trying to be like everyone, trying to just have your place in the room, it's hard to fit everyone's expectation of you. So what I've experienced is as a woman in technology, as a young Black woman in technology, you really just have to be yourself. Everyone's gonna see you different. Everyone's gonna expect different things. But if you be yourself, as time goes by, then they accept you for who you are.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to jump on and add to this? Sort of the barriers to entry and the experience to being the only woman? Yes, Mala.
So I just want to say, as an older person, is that being the quiet person in the room is kind of easy to get used to over time, because at least in my time, if you tend to speak up, or if you're the only woman in the room who spoke up, it didn't go well with the majority crowd at all. They thought you were too aggressive. They thought you didn't get. I mean, I can't even count how many performance reviews I've got where people wrote, too aggressive, or you need to get along, or that kind of stuff. So over time, you need a job just like everybody else does. So you tend to adapt, and that becomes kind of a habit. And when you have somebody who's actually, a good sponsor, or somebody who looks out for you, and they want your behavior to change, to me, that was a really hard learning curve. And I think the earlier you get started on that, and the earlier you tend not to go with the status quo, that is the better for you, to become somebody who can look out for yourself and for your team that way. Otherwise, the learning curve on that can be really steep.
Yeah, so a few of you have talked about advocates and sponsors and the importance of having this. Tracy, have you had any experience with this, or do you have anything on that you'd like to comment on?
Yes, I've had a few advocates and sponsors over the years, not actually inside my jobs, but outside my jobs. I've picked up a few in the SQL community, and they've helped me along my career by giving me advice and things on the do, and I can constantly call on them to ask them for advice in a particular situation. And
Yeah.
Twitter's like a pager almost to some of them, and they answer within like 5 minutes. It's really cool. So I've been able to go to them and get advice on just about anything career wise. I've had them help me out with transitioning jobs and helping to ask for more money because I'm not comfortable doing that, and they are, and asking for those promotions when I'm not comfortable doing it, and they're more comfortable pushing me to do it when it's more appropriate and things like that. So if you can find someone that's more that can sponsor you or mentor you in those areas, it can be a tremendous help in advancing your career.
Yep.
Yeah. Does anyone else have something they'd like to add on about that?
I'll just add one of the reasons I got into IT was back when I was at IU, Indiana University. They asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I wanted to own a gym one day. But I started to hear back then that IT was a male-dominated field, and it paid well. So I was like, I was always one of those kind of gals that I like to beat guys at guy games. Like I wanted to catch more fish than they did, or I wanted to, I wanted to beat them at playing pool. Like any of those things, I wanted to be like that. So I would say part of the reason I got in here was a little bit out of spite to to show them that, anytime I tell my kids, like, go ahead and tell me I can't. And that's when I'll fight harder and work harder to prove them wrong. So I hope I keep doing that. So, yeah.
Definitely. And Jess, I was just wondering, do you have anything else that you'd like to add on sort of this conversation that we've had so far?
The only thing I would really add is like that idea of being the only woman in the room is this idea of representation, right? So the more women we can get in rooms and in positions that people can see, different in the boardroom or giving the keynote at a tech conference, whatever, that idea of representation shows other people, other women, all kinds of other people that they can also do that too, right? They can be in that position. They can outfish the men or whatever. So
Definitely, that definitely is true. And I think, yeah, that idea of getting women into the rooms is extremely important. So I think that's something that we could follow up on now, is sort of looking at how do we get women into the rooms? Do we have any practical advice or tips to share with women who might be listening on sort of next steps on doing that, getting more women into the rooms? Does anyone have something that jumps out at them right away? Denisha, great.
Yeah, so Jess mentioned something that's really, really important, and that's representation. So we have to be the leaders to show other women that it's possible and you can do it, because it's not a fear. Some women may be scared, but and like Hope, it doesn't sound like Hope was scared. It sounded like she she wanted to like go for it and do it. So, and there's a lot of go-getters too, but all the go-getters and the ones that fear stepping up, they like to see other women in those positions already. So I think, taking on those roles, if you're already in a corporate role and you're already in these organizations, then step up and be a leader or co-leader or a moderator or just anything that's leading something. And then that, showing other people that, that's possible and you can have that role that makes it comfortable for other women to come and just kind of mingle and then eventually be a leader too. I wanted to share my experience of being a leader, because I now am a leader of a lot of things, but when I started my career, I was in college, and maybe a year before graduation, I started to go look into PAS. I didn't know what PAS was, but I started to look into organizations. And at the University of Memphis, there was a PAS group, and they met at the University of Memphis. And I went, and there were all men in a room, but the leader was a woman. So I think that meant so much to me. And Jandy Richards, she's still my mentor. She brought me so far when it comes to IT. But after that meeting, for her being the only woman in the room and me the only woman in the audience, I went to her after that, and me walking up to her and talking to her has brought me so far in my career. So I think just being a leader, just that by itself, shows a lot to women in the world.
Definitely, definitely. Does anyone else have anything on their experiences with sort of what inspired you to get in the room and what could help other women get in the room? I think yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jess.
I was going to say, one thing is programs in schools and stuff to get girls more excited in tech and not to lose interest as they're learning and choosing kind of a career they want to go in. I actually volunteered when I was in Ohio for a program called Girls in Data, and they were basically taking data visualization technology into classrooms for girls to show them it's not all about coding. You can do stuff with data that isn't just coding. So kind of bringing in more experience and showing them there are all of these options in the data platform or the data realm, right? You don't have to just sit at your laptop and code all day. I mean, you can if you like that, but that's not the only option. So kind of just opening their eyes to the options and starting young, I think, is important too.
Definitely, definitely. And I guess the question would be, what sort of advice maybe would you give to someone who is maybe a woman in university or someone in high school thinking about going into university and studying these topics? Yeah, do you have advice for the next generation that you think to help them get into the field? Maybe, and I know that you recently entered the field, I guess. So do you have any advice?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, like, go for it, right? Like, don't be scared, like, go for it. And I would also say, like, it's not going to happen like magically, right? Like the women you see up here, we're not lucky, right? What makes you different from everyone else is that you're going to do the work and you're going to put in the time to be successful. And so I think, once you can realize that like it's in your control to decide what you do with your future, then is when you can start to like build yourself up, as opposed to think like, oh, they're just lucky, like someone vouched for them. Like, I don't think that's how most of us got here today. Like, most of us got here today because we did the work and also we leveraged the community. Like, we have the most amazing community I've ever seen here is the SQL community. I've been part of the AI communities, I've been part of different communities in university, but this SQL community is so tight knit. Like Mala said, like you can get on Twitter and have an issue or need help with something, and like they have your back. And so I know, I can speak for everyone on this call that like if you reached out to us, like we would try to help you. Like that's just kind of the way this community is, and I think it's really great that the women in this community do things like this and try to build each other up, as opposed to competing with each other, which you sometimes see with women in just various situations.
Definitely. And I know, Mala, just touching on that point of community, Mala, I know you wrote an article on, or a blog post that touched on your experiences with the community and how it's helped you as a woman in this industry. So it'd be great if you could sort of elaborate on
So I
community.
want to tell a little story as a follow-up to what Anna was talking about. I work with some really smart, really seriously smart people, 2 MVPs, and several of them are, pretty known in the industry. So one day I went out for lunch and I was coming back with one of these people who's really known in our community as a very smart person. And him and I were talking about, some T-SQL code that I wrote, and he was suggesting some different ways of doing it and such. So when I came back and after lunch, and there were 2 girls sitting next to me who were programmers, and one of them came up to me and said, I was looking at how you were talking to him and you sounded like, so comfortable and so okay. When you talk to him, you can be totally wrong, right? What you're saying, maybe he's going to tear down what you say in like minutes. He knows so much. And I said, yeah, he's quite a brilliant person. And yeah, he's going to say I'm wrong. So what? That's part of the reason why you talk, because you want to understand what you can do better. And he's not somebody who does it in any kind of a derogatory way. And if he thinks you can do it better, he's going to tell you. And she was like, I would never talk to anyone who knows my stuff so much better than I do, because I'm going to feel so small. And it's like, that's the kind of barriers that women, especially, you have to think more about, especially in this community, is that if you keep to yourself in that manner, it's not going to get you very far. So there are absolutely people, especially men, who can take you down and make you feel really small. I don't deny that at all, and I know lots of women who've had that experience. But our community is a safe, open place. So if you want feedback, if you want help, you can reach out and say, here is what I know, please guide me, tell me what is right. And to me, that has helped tremendously, is to just be honest and open about what I know and what I don't know, and ask for help when I need it. And without that, you really don't get anywhere, is getting people to help you.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything on community, the past community specifically? Maybe Tracy, I know you've been quite involved in the community and how to use that.
Oh yeah, I'm quite involved on. Yeah, the community is a great place for doing anything. Just like I would say, just get involved, volunteer in some way, even if it's just a small way, moderating an event. Attending an event is a good way to start and start networking with people, because you need a network of people to start getting involved in the community. You know, there's Sequel Saturdays just about everywhere. Of course, you can't really network right now because of COVID, but which makes it hard. So try to network through Summit right now. They do have chat bubbles set up for tonight. Let me move my cat. It's easier to talk without her in front of me. So just get out there and do some networking with people. Find your local user group. They're usually having some sort of chats. I know a few that I've presented at are breaking out into bubbles and letting people chat together and talking before the meeting. Move the cat again. And try to build up your network of people that you can talk to, and then you can start volunteering in the community, and you'll get to know even more people that way, and just build up that community. And it really is like a family that you build up. I mean, I consider a lot of people part of my family, and now Hope's really part of my family because she went to IU. So
Yeah.
so but you know, just get involved as much as you can, even if it's just going to your local user group on a Sequel Saturday, and don't be afraid to speak to people that are well known in the community either. We love to speak to people. I mean, ask us questions. We love to answer questions. We like to talk after our sessions. We love doing all that stuff. We don't mind people stopping us in the hallways and asking us questions and talking to us at all. We'll sit there and talk for an hour or two about anything. So
And you can start with blogging too. I know some people feel shy to talk. So if you're the kind who likes to write, then start blogging, and there are enough people who will retweet it and get you, exposure to what you have to say. There's a hashtag called SQL New Blogger. If you use that, then there will be plenty of people who will amplify what you have to say and get you some help.
Mala, how did you start? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say one more thing on the community.
Yeah.
I remember my first past summit. I was talking to Alan White, and he said, do not just go to the sessions and then go back to your hotel room. And I did do exactly that, but it did stick with me. And the next year I tried a lot harder to try and do exactly what Tracy was saying. Chat to people after sessions, meet people at different events, go to some of the vendor parties, like just meeting people and building that community. I know it's harder now since we're online and this is the 2020 version, but find us on Twitter, connect with us. Like, we all love talking about women in tech, about diversity in tech, about tech in general. So just connect with us and get involved. So
Jess, how has that community impacted your career since that you've been developing it here?
Oh, it's been unbelievable. So I was living in Ohio. I started blogging a couple of years ago now, probably maybe 3. I started speaking. I went to Data Grillen in Germany. I was just talking to people. Eventually saw a tweet on Twitter that John Martin was trying to build a team in England, and I was like, oh, maybe I could move home to England and move my career across the Atlantic, and I did just that, and that was through meeting people through the community and just making that network. So, I mean, I had never planned on changing careers. It's just how it happens sometimes. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and there are people all over the place that want to help you. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's how I got my last job too, was via a tweet.
Via tweet.
Yes.
Networking is so important. These social media platforms can help so much. Hope, did you have anything else to say on that?
Yeah, I mean, the community, I feel like I owe everything to this community and the people that have encouraged me. I remember I have a poster somewhere in here. I was at an event and I only did the event. Something inside told me I was supposed to speak for some reason. So I started a little bit. But there were so many people at this event that I was just kind of starstruck and fangirled over, like Kevin Kline and a few others that were there, and I was like, why does anybody want to come and hear what I have to say when they have all of you guys? And they latched onto me so hard and said, no, absolutely not. You have something to say, and you have a way of saying it. You should be out there. And there were so many people in the community that encouraged me to keep going, and becoming a better speaker, getting into the rooms, all of that there've been so many people that have tremendously helped me do that. So I want to pay it forward. Hit me up on Twitter. Absolutely. I will have your back. If you are shy, don't, if you feel like, oh, I don't know, is that really for me? I'm not exceptionally intelligent. I might just be more stubborn to read the blog post 3 or 4 times before I have my Oprah aha moment, and then I will replay it back in a way that makes sense to me. So yeah, I will be out here to have your back in whichever fashion, if that's what you need. So I definitely want to pay forward all of the encouragement I got. So yeah.
Well, that's great. We actually have just received a question from the audience, so I'm just going to share that with you. So Sarah M says, do you have suggestions on how to engage others to have productive, meaningful conversations about gender issues in the workplace? I've been fortunate to have had sponsors, but I've also had male colleagues comment that they don't talk about gender diversity or diversity broadly because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing and have been gaslit when trying to raise concerns. So that's a big one to unpack. I guess, Denisha, do you have anything to say on how to bring people into conversations?
Well, let's see. So I would say kind of difficult. Well, I faced difficulties, I guess, finding allies in the workplace when it comes to men, mainly because most of my workplaces include older white men. And so a lot of the older men are, how do I say this? They're more familiar with what they're used to. So it's harder for them to open up in conversation about these problems. They usually expect something and they roll with it. So as a woman, you have to speak up. So if you see something that's happening, or someone approaches you in a way that's inappropriate, or just belittles you as a woman, then you have to speak up to that person. And if that person kind of doesn't really take your conversation as serious, then I think that then leads to a conversation about that company culture, or a conversation with that team, or just maybe talking to your manager. You have to speak up. Like, you can't just let something happen and not say anything about it. So for me, it's been speaking up and talking about situations that happen with my manager, or directly with that person, and offering books for them to read. People love reading books. So for me, I've noticed that in a professional setting, if you mention a book to someone, then they take that as okay, something that I've done wasn't right. I'm going to read this book, and I'm going to take from that book. So people take books and blogs and articles, they accept that as something that they need to change, and they look into that. So speak up, and also talk yourself up. We mentioned earlier about tips for women, and so this is a tip for you, and it also helps in the workplace when dealing with men. You have to talk yourself up, and what that means is that you have to self-promote yourself. So you can get promoted in the workplace by your skills, but you have to have self-promotion. You have to it's okay to show and tell people that you're awesome, pretty much. So you're awesome. You are awesome, girl. You're awesome. So you have to know that you're awesome, and prove that you're awesome, and show that you're awesome, and walk with your head up. And you're gonna just get that response that you want if you have that confidence in yourself.
Yeah, that's great practical advice. Those really good tips. I guess, does anyone else have any practical tips on how to engage people in conversations? Anna.
I'd say look for,
yeah.
I was saying, look for small opportunities where you can point out what they're doing wrong. Like, I had this thing going where I work, where a very talented female architect was constantly commented upon as somebody who never smiled much. Like, like she never smiles, and she's such a serious person and such. So once I asked one of these people saying it, like, when was the last time you ever made a comment that a man was looking really serious? Where did that keep you from communicating with that was right? And he didn't say anything for some time, and he said, until you said, I never even thought about it. So for many people, it has become kind of second nature to make certain comments because they're older and because they get away with it. So if you take small opportunities to point out things like that, and you don't have to be really aggressive or in the face or anything, but use those small opportunities in the best way possible, then it's easier to make a difference rather than look for a really big opportunity to give a talk upon what's not right and point out 10 things they're not doing right. That's hard to digest. So make use of small chances.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Anna, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Yeah, sure. I was just going to like kind of add onto that in like a few ways. Sometimes I feel comfortable to do kind of what Mala mentioned, like call someone out a little bit, but in a nice way. And sometimes that works for me, but sometimes I've been in two situations that I can think of specifically where I've had someone say something to me that was inappropriate multiple times. And like I contemplated having the conversation with them, but ultimately, like, I just didn't feel comfortable. I was scared, whatever the reason. So what I found that's been helpful in situations like that is to go one-on-one with other people, and maybe this isn't what other people in the panel would agree with, and just try to understand, like, is this behavior specific to me? Or is this just the way that they act with everyone? Either way, it's probably not appropriate. So like, what can we do? There's been a few instances where there's been an interaction with someone that I've had that I don't think they intentionally like meant to make me feel the way they did or meant to be not inclusive. So I didn't necessarily want to like tarnish our relationship and like go and talk to them myself. So there has been an instance where I went and spoke with someone manager and said, hey, like, can you just very subtly like hint that like maybe next time in the meeting so and so shouldn't do XYZ. And that's actually worked really well for me sometimes. So even if you're a little bit scared of situations, I still think like you have to find a way to speak up. Otherwise, it's not going to get any better. And honestly, it's probably going to get worse.
Yes.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything to add on that? Yeah, Jess.
I was going to say a lot of companies these days have employee resource groups around women in the workplace or LGBT groups. I think getting involved with those and raising their profile is a great way of kind of increasing the visibility across your organization.
Yeah, because I was going to say it's unfortunate that it often falls on the individual to deal with what is coming up. So what would be great to talk about is sort of more company-wide approaches that you think could happen to improve the culture or just change things so it doesn't fall to the individual. So like it shouldn't be Anna's responsibility to deal with this kind of behavior. Does anyone have anything to say on that? Yeah, possibly. Jess, do you think you sort of those more managerial level initiatives that have you seen any that work?
Yeah, so at my previous company, I co-led the LGBT group, and we had a really great series of trans education sessions that no one really wanted to take the initiative and learn on their own necessarily, but we all knew that it was something we needed to get better at, right? We didn't have anyone in our leadership team that identified as trans, so we were all trying to learn and bring that knowledge to the organization. And I think if one person feels more included, or like it's a better place to work for them from that kind of initiative, I think it helps many people, right? So
definitely. Yeah, Hope, have you seen anything work at a organizational level?
Yeah, gosh, Microsoft is they're doing quite a bit of things to try and make it, and have a lot of initiatives to make it more inclusive. So they were just publishing, I think they actually just published their diversity and inclusion numbers. it seems like, Microsoft is definitely a leader in tech and, all of those things, but not that they're gamifying it, but it seems like there are so many things where like Microsoft will, for example, put out their number of, we're going back into the workplace after, X date of COVID. And then somebody else will kind of, oh, well, we're not going back until X date. I think it's important that I've thought that people should be more open, but, I'm definitely a data person. Put the numbers out there. Put the numbers out there and just show that, we're open and honest with this, that, the numbers aren't where we want them to be. But so I definitely have seen at Microsoft kind of really large initiatives, and they've even done trainings where it's, talking about that unconscious bias of things. So to that person's question of being open and honest with, calling those things out. People are so afraid of also like just saying, you made me feel like X, or you made me feel like Y. We shouldn't be afraid of sharing how somebody makes you feel. They may not have intended it, but if they don't know, then they'll just keep on doing it and they'll do it to others. So, but do it with tact. Like so many people are trying to be honest, but if you're not honest without some level of tact, it can be just cruel, and be just a form of cruelty to the person that you're trying to be open and honest with. So, yeah.
Yeah. So does anyone else have anything to say on sort of that organizational level?
I wanted to recommend,
Yeah.
I mentioned books. I wanted to recommend a book because
Yeah.
I know we have these situations, and you probably was like, what book can I recommend to a man who's doing these things? So there's a book that I have on my shelf here. It's called Innovating Women, The Changing Face of Technology by Vivek, I don't know, it starts with a W, Vivek W. And that book just talks about how women are changing technology. And I think that's a good introduction of how, men can see women as equal in the IT field.
Definitely. It's good to have specific recommendations to
Yeah.
share. So we have another question here from a community member that says, what are your takes on how to manage work-life balance? So does anyone have any initial thoughts on this? Tracy?
Yes, manage it for your own mental health.
And physical health.
Yeah, if you're working too many hours, I would say you need to talk to your boss about the expectations that they have set before you, and what goals and deadlines they've given you, and tell them that, hey, these are unrealistic based on, what you're given to work with, because we all should be only working 40 hours a week or just a tad bit over that, because Hope looks guilty there. But as I said in my mental health talk, if you're working for over 55 hours a week, it leads to early dementia and death. So you need to consider that if you're working too much, it has side effects. Plus your cognitive abilities go down, your productivity goes down, your vocabulary skills go down. So you've got to have a balance there so that you can function better and have that balance, and that helps your mental health as well as your actual productivity at work. So if you're working too many hours, sometimes you're not as productive as you think you are, just because you're putting in the hours, because you're tired. You're just plain tired from working too much, and you get burnt out at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
So that would be my recommendation, is you talk to your boss about what's going on. As far as what's going on is that, that your expectations of the work hours are too much, and how can we cut it back? And if you need to track your time for a week or two, and that way you can show them where all the time's going, and that you are working on certain projects, but things are taking up time, or what's eating your time away, that's eating it away from the projects you need to be working on, so that he can maybe remedy those things that you don't need to be working on, that way he can take those away so you can work on what you are working on.
Yeah, definitely. Anna, have you experienced anything to help with work-life balance or managing those two things?
Yeah, sure. I'll say, like, especially during COVID times, like, things have been really weird, and in a lot of ways not a positive way. You know, personally, I used to travel to see customers a lot, and then I went to being at home by myself all the time. And that was really hard. So I would challenge you to do a few things to kind of force yourself to step away. My first challenge to you, which has been really great for me, is to start every workday with something that's for you, not for work. So whether it's taking a shower, whether it's taking 15 minutes to drink a cup of coffee and look outside or sit outside, for me, I go for a run. And then I've started my day with something that was for me. So it's just one way that, like, you know, my job doesn't have control over my whole day. I've already started out with like an hour for myself. So I think that really helps. Another thing that has really helped me, and I'm not sure I can advise this to everyone in this time, is that I got a dog. And apart from being a ton of work, it's also brought just like so much joy into my life. And it's also given me a reason that forces me to step away from my computer, right? I can't sit here for 12 hours at a time. Like, my dog would go crazy. He has to go out. So that's been really nice. So even if you don't have a dog or like kids or other things like that, I definitely recommend, like, every 3 hours, like, step away from your computer. And maybe 3 hours is even too long, but step outside, go for a walk. It's like refreshing to remind yourself that, like, here is not your everything. Like, there's a whole world outside, there's other beings, there's other people. And I just feel like in these COVID times where so many of us are like very isolated in a physical sense, like, those are two things that have really helped me.
Yeah, that's great advice, great practical advice. Does anyone else have anything they've found helps manage that balance? Mala, yeah.
So I just want to add something to, especially since our audience may be a lot of people looking out or are already in DBA jobs. I would recommend when you interview to really ask about your on-call schedule, and, you know, if there are other people who will cover for you, how often do you have to take the call? How often do they call you off hours? All those questions. Don't be shy about asking that at all, because I've been in many jobs where what they say is not what you get, or, you know, they take advantage of the fact that you're a little bit shy to ask details about the assignment, and it has been too much for me. And it's the most common cause of burnout for DBAs is the on-call schedule. So be very clear about what you're getting into. Ask a lot of questions. If possible, talk to other people who are working in the same company and find out how bad it is before you accept any position. It's really important.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. We've received another. Oh, Denisha, sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Really quickly.
No, take your time. Go ahead.
Okay, so so I'm young in the field, and I think I would say I'm a slightly bit aggressive when it comes to me time, just because it's important. But I think you should set expectations of your availability, because no one can tell you, no one should force you to work after hours and on weekends. So set when you're available. What I do personally is I block out parts of my calendar for me. So 30 minutes, an hour sometimes, depending on my meetings. You know, I do, you know, I don't not go to things that's important, but I block out time for me that I'm not available. And, you know, you just can't contact me during that time. On weekends, you know, Outlook does have the automatic replies. And so I use that very often. And if I'm not available, you know, I don't want someone to send me an email and keep sending me emails because I'm not replying and I'm just not available. So make use of the automatic replies when you're out of office, you know, not just when you're on vacation, but when it's the weekend and you're going to see your family and you don't want to reply to emails, then, you know, set that automatic reply to say that you're not available until Monday, which is normal, but a lot of people think that you should work on weekends. So, you know, I take heavy use of that and I've never had a problem with it. You know, if I'm not available, then you're just not available. And you have to, you know, I hate to say this, but men do it all the time. You know, if they're not available, then they're just not available. You know, for some reason, I mentioned that perception thing. People need women to be available whenever they need them. And I'm sorry, but that's just not the case here. Not in Denisha's land. So you have to be stern and you have to hold on to that and, you know, make expectations of that.
I also wanted to add a tip, and then Jess, sorry. But in Outlook, since Denisha was mentioning it, you can actually set up Outlook on your phone so that you don't even see them after hours or on the weekends. So I do that, and it really helps, because otherwise, you know, Saturday morning, someone's working and I'm like, oh no, all these things that are coming. And then all of a sudden I have Sunday scaries on a Saturday. So definitely like look at the Outlook settings, or just like your general notification settings, because even just seeing it, even if you don't have to respond to it, can be stressful. Sorry, Jess, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the blocking out time for you is something that I've started using also, to block out time to work out at lunchtime. So now that we're working from home, it's easier for me to do that at lunch and take an hour to just get some kind of fitness in, cycling or CrossFit or something. It really makes a big difference in my day that's kind of carved out, and it's already blocked out. You know, I'm going to go do it. So
I've struggled with work-life balance with kids. Some of the days when I was trying to be MVP, I was managing teams and I had little kids at home. So take time, you know, nobody is going to be on their deathbed going, oh, I made X number of Power BI report, or, you know, whatever it is you do at work. That's probably not the thing that you're going to be thinking about on your deathbed. So making sure I had time for my kids became more important. But I've definitely struggled because I felt like I had to work, you know, harder as a woman to, you know, get the same, you know, I wanted to know my technical stuff to an X level to where I would, you know, come and crush it to where I wouldn't feel like that. So it's a struggle for me, but yeah, you got to set time. You will make time for what's important to you. So whether it's your kids or your fitness, and don't set those boundaries, because I'm one of those obliger type people and I want to help. But I've had to just say, no, you're just trying to take advantage of my niceness here, and forget it. My time is valuable, and, you know, you can't get time back. So that's something I take very, very seriously.
Definitely. And I can see that this question has been upvoted quite a bit by the audience. So I think this is something that a lot of people do struggle with. So this is really helpful advice that you shared with our audience now. So we've received another question here that says, any suggestion of how to deal with men in meetings when you're the only woman and they keep interrupting you or mansplaining? And this person has indicated that they don't want to be seen as rude. Does anyone have any practical advice on that? Mala?
So I would say, when you get a meeting invite, and if that's a habit, I would say, you know, if you feel scared about saying something or talking to the person, just decline and say, my input is not needed. I don't think I need to be there. Yeah. I've done that many times. And it's like, if they keep talking over you and they want to make their own decisions, then okay, then why am I there in the room? You know, you can do your own stuff. And so there isn't just one way to make yourself, you know, and sometimes it's hard to have the cake and eat it also. Like, you cannot expect them to think of you as a nice person at the same time tell them things that are not so nice. Parallelly, it doesn't work like that. So you have to take a little bit of a risk there. And, you know, if they're going to think of you as bad or wicked for some time, that's okay. And, you know, let's say if your input is not needed, you're not going to be there. That helps for a start. And if you do that a few times, then they're probably going to relax that a little bit, and you have to work it, you know, from there.
Yeah. Denisha, you look like you had something to say.
Oh, yeah. So, all right. So interrupting someone is very disrespectful. It's something that's disrespectful, and the person's doing it, they know it's disrespectful. So it's not something that you just do, you know, and if it's sometimes it's by mistake, you know, I can't say every time it's disrespectful, but when it's by mistake, most people will apologize and let you finish, you know. But if they keep talking and try to finish their sentence knowing that they interrupted you, that's when it's reached a disrespectful level. And if it keeps happening, then you need to at that point you have to approach that person. Like, I don't like conflict, and so I do things. I approach someone with respect, but in a meeting and mid-meeting, if I'm getting interrupted, I have in the past told the person to please let me finish. Just hold your comment, and if you can't remember your comment, then if it's important, then I'll let you finish when I finish this comment. I'll let you can talk next. Saying that you can talk next or giving that person the room when you're done, just there's nothing wrong with that. Once again, men do this all the time. You don't really catch women interrupting men a lot, but some women do. Some women do interrupt men when they're talking, and the men would they do what they need to do to finish what they have to say. Sometimes they raise their voice a little more so you can just stop talking, or sometimes they'll tell you to just wait, hold on, let me finish. So we have to step up, women. Like, it's okay to use your voice. Like, Denisha uses her voice, and I really think as a 20-something-year-old person, like, that's what's gotten me so far, because I speak up. I speak up in a room when someone tries to interrupt me. I finish what I'm saying, because if I let them interrupt me, I'll forget. I could be saying something really important, and because I let them do whatever they did, I forget. And then to everyone else in the room, it makes it look like that it's okay to interrupt Denisha when she's talking, or it's okay to interrupt, whoever that person is when they're talking. So you have to finish what you're saying, tell the person that it's not okay to interrupt you. If you don't want to say that, wait till after the meeting, and let them know after that it's not okay to do that. And sometimes, in my case, it was the CTO, I'm sorry, who started to do that. And that's a very important role, but I really could care less, because I'm talking. So, so let me finish this conversation. Let me finish what I'm saying. I have a few more words left, and then when I'm done, I promise you can talk. You can get what you're saying out, and then I'll give you my feedback based on your comment. It's a little harder now in Zoom, in these virtual meetings to do that, because you can't see the person, so they can easily unmute and start talking. But you have to figure out how to do that same thing. So in my Zoom calls, and someone's interrupting me, then I still do the same thing. Just hold on 1 second. I'm almost done. I said really sweet. I'm almost done. Let me finish this one thing, and then you can make your comment. So that's my 2 cents.
Also, having a moderator or maybe even a manager who knows how to conduct meetings is helpful. You can talk to that person and say, give everybody a turn to talk, and then, moderate it when somebody speaks too much or somebody is really scared to speak up. That really helps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Just a note to all of our attendees, we have about 15 minutes left, so please keep sending in your questions so we can get them all answered before the end of the session. We have a question here. What is your advice for a woman who wants to have kids but is afraid for their career? Do any of you have experience with this topic or suggestions on this? Or I guess it doesn't even just to have kids, just if you're afraid to do things for your career, is there anything that you can do or any suggestions on that front?
I don't know if I'm the only one with kids, but I can definitely say,
yeah,
definitely have the kids. Yeah, I mean, I was always one that I wasn't sure I wanted to have kids, but a little voice inside kind of told me that I was going to. So I did. And I was able to now, there are times when I have the mom guilt bad, but I also am, I have a boy and a girl. And I feel like it's important that they see that I am able to work and do the things. I think it's been bad that I don't know, there used to be this mentality of women just had to go do everything and do the job and take care of the kids and do this and that. And I don't think that, I have my strengths, my husband has his strengths, but we're a team. So you need to have support and you need to have a system, but you don't have to be the do it all everything. Set some of those boundaries, but definitely have the kids. If you want to have kids, go and have the kids. You'll work it out. You'll be fine. So, but that's just mine.
Perfect.
I'm with her. Have the kids. Your job situation will work itself out. You can get another job if need be. Having kids is definitely worth it. and just, know that you'll be able to manage both, and it'll be fine.
Great, thank you. I guess, we're sort of coming to the last 15 minutes here. So I think it'd be great to end on sort of something hopeful and what you see for the future. And I'm just wondering if any of you have seen trends or anything really that gives you hope for the future, or what you think is going to happen next. Jess, maybe start with you.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I feel like we're all starting to try and be more understanding, right? Like, obviously we don't understand everything that makes up a person. Like, I can only understand what I'm experiencing as all of the parts that make up my identity. But I feel like as a society, and at least as a SQL community, we're trying harder to be more understanding, and like Denisha said, trying to read some books that educate us on all kinds of pieces of other people, right? Whether it's race or sexuality or any other thing that we don't fully understand. I think that's hopeful for the future, because the more we understand, the more we can kind of relate, and it will make it easier for everyone. So I think just going forward, we just need to continue to educate ourselves, and be open, have the discussions that are difficult, have these panels where we can learn from each other and make it a better place.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Anna, do you have anything that makes you hopeful?
I mean, honestly, just to, be here, if I go back in time, 2 years ago was the first time I started kind of participating in the SQL community. I didn't really know anything. I didn't feel confident. I felt like, I'm going to get up here, and similar to some themes that I've heard today, like, why would anyone listen to me? And I don't feel that way anymore. And so I think maybe that's hope for everyone, that, you can just take that next step, take the big step, take the leap of faith, whatever you want to call it, and like just start doing it, doing whatever it is that you already know that there's something that you could do to better yourself, to better speak up for yourself, to start participating. Maybe you want to start speaking. So I think if there's hope for me to overcome those barriers and work through it and be where I am today, like, I would have never pictured I would be sitting on a panel talking about this 2 years ago with you guys. So for me, that's hopeful, and I hope like you find it, like you feel inspired that you can do what any of us have done. Like, it's not magic, it's very possible, and we're all here to support you. So yeah.
Thank you. Hope?
Yeah, with my name, I guess I do need to come up with something hopeful. Yeah. I mean, I would say having these conversations is definitely hopeful and helpful. And, being a part of this community has just, I mean, I feel like I've made friends I literally have made friends all over the world. I have brilliant, smart people that inspire me all the time. So yeah, that definitely gives me hope that, yeah, I'm just, I am hopeful that we will all be a little more understanding through some of these conversations of the way people can make you feel and those things. But yeah, stay strong, and all of us up here, we will definitely support you in this is a community and we have our back. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I can learn something from every single person. So I think having these conversations and learning the experiences of everyone, like Jess mentioned, has made me just an even more richer, just a better human being, and definitely can help in a career. So yeah, I love it.
Perfect. Thank you. Mala, do you have anything you'd like to add?
So I want to narrate a real incident. I like stories, so I keep saying stories all the time. So I was watching the training video that Anna made with Bob Watt at home one day, and my niece saw it, and she said about how smart Anna looks, and that she's able to teach all these courses with this she didn't know who Bob Watt was, but she thought he was a really big, important looking guy, and that Anna is able to hold her own next to him, and that she was very impressed by that. And that those were not things that we could do in my time, like 15, 20 years ago. You could never imagine that. So keep going. I think we live in times when there are lots of possibilities, and don't underestimate how what you do can motivate someone else, even if they're not a tech person. We as women always need to lift each other up and motivate each other. So pay attention to everything you do. You never know how it's going to impact someone else in a good way.
Thank you very much. Tracy.
Um, just want to say anything you do in your life makes a difference on someone else, whether it's good or bad. So, go out and be positive and, contribute to the community and be part of the community, whether it's the SQL community or your own community at large, and, make a difference in something. And, start with your career, and you never know where you'll go from there. So.
Perfect. Thank you. And Denisha, is there anything that makes you hopeful?
Well, everything makes me hopeful. Everything that's happening, because it's just a change in the way that we're experiencing technology, and I think women are leading the change. There's a lot of women in tech organizations. There's a lot of like IT groups that have women subset groups that all women are coming together and talking about things. And I've been in the industry for about 3 years, and when I started, it didn't exist. So in the past 3 years, all this changing, and look where I am as a woman, a young woman. So I have hope, just that it's just gonna evolve really quickly. And my wish is that we continue to lead. So, whatever you're doing right now, don't stop doing it. If you've just started blogging and maybe you don't have a lot of followers, or you don't think that people are actually looking, people are looking at you. So don't stop. Don't stop what you're doing, and reach back and help another woman. Like, you have to help other women, because women, we tend to not ask for help a lot, but when offered, we appreciate it. So offer help to women, and especially young women. As a young woman coming into the field, it's just not easy seeing a lot of men that are dominating, or a lot of men that are managing and leading. So if you're a leader in the community, reach back into these colleges and help these women that are about to come and into your work industry, and show them how to be a leader.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I guess we're coming near the end of the session now, so I'm wondering if any of you have any final thoughts, words of advice, or encouragement that you'd like to share. Yes, Jess.
Just to latch on to what Denisha said, Ree Irish has said this over and over again, like, lift as you climb. And I think just that idea of, as we grow our careers and we get more opportunities to speak and to be on panels, we need to reach back, like you said, and help the next generation. And Hope already mentioned this too. We're all willing and on Twitter and ready to help. So reach out to us after the panel or in the next week or so when you have questions or ideas, and I'm more than happy to have conversations on Twitter after this. So
great. Thank you. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. It's been a pleasure to speak with you all, and I think you've had a great conversation and given a lot of really important information. So yeah, thank you all. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and thank you to everyone who's attended today.